Hello, this is Grace Reinhart, and I'm here with my two roommates,
Lauren Hurley and Emma Ford.
And today we're talking about the impact of social media when it comes to feminist movements today. So the first point I have, this is from Florence et al., and they argue that the exposure of young women to feminist debate gives them important tools to work against the discrimination they find in their own lives. The aim is to recognize sexism in everyday experiences and to inspire an activism able to question the current patriarchal system, which tends to avoid the diversity of other voices and subjectives. So my first question for you guys is, do you get most of your news about women's issues on social media?
I get most of my news of women's issues on social media.
I as well.
And I did a survey, and 86.7% of people also agreed. Do you see that on campus a lot? Do you not see a ton of people talking about it outwardly and just like using their phone to figure it out?
I think I hear people talking about it a lot as well, so I guess I would say that's like my second most source of information is just like from word of mouth. But I feel like most of the time when I hear people get their information, they get it from social media.
Yeah, I agree. If I do talk about like what I like the news surrounding women's issues, it's usually just with my friends, and I'm not like talking about it with like other people who are in my class, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then my next question is, do you seek out articles about women's issues from reputable sources? Do you try to go onto like academic journals or anything like that?
Sometimes I will. If I'm like really curious about a specific topic, I'll go to like an academic journal. I really like using the university libraries for that. I'll just like look up peer-reviewed sources about what I'm interested in.
I really don't, unless there's like a link in like Instagram. Like I'll be like, let me read more about this, and I might if it intrigues me, like Lauren said. But I'm not really searching out them like by myself.
Yeah, I think those are both like very valid arguments. I think in Gen Z, a lot of times we just expect it to be accurate on the internet because 53.3% of students who took this survey also just get their information from social media and then don't go to a article afterwards. And I think that plays into a lot of the first quote I mentioned because we're not getting all the tools that will make it able to have feminist debate all the time, and we're just mainly getting it from social media, which I think has been causing a lot of divide in the fourth wave of feminism. All right. And then I have another quote here. It's from Turley and Fisher. They write, shouting back or responding using a hashtag in digital spaces is a way of exposing the prejudice faced by people on a daily basis while sharing and reacting to it and provoking responses. Social networking sites provide a visible platform for feminists to address experiences relating to sexism and misogyny. Gillard argues that digital spaces are central to defining a fourth wave of feminist practice and allow for global engagement, yet the use of digital media can be tokenistic, and use of internet is insufficient to demarcate a new wave of practice. So basically what he's saying there is that we're getting a lot of new information and it's creating this fourth wave of feminism, which includes social media, but it's not enough to truly create a bigger wave with accurate information. So my next question for you guys is, when you see a protest for women's issues on social media, do you feel the need to share it or repost it or talk about it on a social media platform?
I would say it depends what platform I see it on. Usually on like Instagram, I don't really repost anything, but if it's on TikTok, I see a video that seems like good information and from a reputable source, that I will repost it.
Yeah. I don't really repost in general, like on anything, so I really don't. And like if I do, like I might just share it to someone else, like my friend or something like that, but I'm not really reposting it.
All right. So on campus, 60% of students do repost their social media protests or like just regular issues they see, but 33.3% do not. And then 1% said, I do not see any news about women's issues on social media. So with that, statistic, if you will, do you notice this a lot on campus? Do you think a lot of people are not noticing anything about women's issues? And if you do notice that, who is the demographic of people not talking about it?
I feel like I would say probably guys in the age group of like 18 to 25 maybe would be like the least likely to see something like that. But I don't really speak with many people in that population, so I don't know for sure. But that would be my guess of who answered like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think like just their feed or like algorithm of their social media probably doesn't align the same as like a woman of the same age. Maybe that's why they're not seeing it, but I don't really encounter any of those people. And I don't really talk to men about women's issues anyway, so I don't think that topic would cross our conversation.
Yeah. All right. And then my next question for you guys is, when you see those posts where it's like, it's typically in a big city, DC, New York, LA, and you see large protests, does it make you want to go join a protest in your own community? Or is it just like you see it and that's cool and then you keep scrolling?
I would say it does make me want to more, because it kind of shows like the safer side of protests as well when you see it from like a first-hand source, because usually when it's like reported secondhand from like the news or something, they'll show like the worst parts of it, like rioting and things like that. But when you see it from like a person who's actually going out and protesting, it looks a lot more peaceful, and it does make me more inclined to go protest, although I have not yet.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you see it at a large scale, it makes you more comfortable to do it on a smaller scale, especially somewhere in your community with people you know.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And 73.3% of people that took the survey also said it makes them more likely to want to join or to actually join. It looks about one person said no, and then one other person, it must have been the same person taking the survey, but they do not see anything about women's issues on social media, which I find hard to believe. But we have another quote for you guys, and it's by Bora et al. It says, recent research shows on cross-platform analysis has shown that activists often use different platforms strategically to reach the audience of their choice. Now, this goes for people who are trying to push feminist media, but this also goes for people who are posting anti-feminist media, and there's like hashtags you can use and ways that you can reach people who are more susceptible to the mission you're trying to create. So my next question for you guys is, do you see a lot of anti-feminist posts? If so, do they make you angry or hurt or upset? What are your feelings when you see it?
The way that I usually see anti-feminism on the internet is through Instagram comments, usually on a feminist post. Like, I get a lot of videos about women working out because that's something I'm interested in, and then usually in the comments will be a lot of anti-feminist things, and it does make me very angry and upset, and I just, like, I don't understand it, why people would be anti-feminist.
Yeah, I agree. I mostly see like those comments on Instagram and TikTok. For instance, I saw a post yesterday, and it was reporting on a mass shooting, and there was a female cop on scene, and all the comments were just talking about her body and the way it looked, and it was pretty disgusting to read that. And I think it also makes me more irritated, like Lauren, and like upset, just because it's like, why are we doing that?
Yeah, I think those are very like great points about women, and you guys are going to a different issue too, which is women in the workplace, where you will wear typical clothes that men will wear, but because we have denser breast tissue, it will often make people point it out. And I also, in the survey, 66.7% of people said that they see anti-feminist posts, and it does make them hurt or upset. The same guy also said he doesn't see anything, but one person commented that it made them irritated more than upset, which I think is also valid. It just kind of like pisses them off, it looks like. So I'm asking, if you feel those emotions, do you leave comments, or do you just scroll on these posts?
I usually don't bother leaving comments. I feel like, especially because most of the time when I see it, it's on like somebody's really big platform, and I don't think they would even see if I did comment. But if it's something more personal to me, like, I actually have had an experience one time where I used to make TikToks a lot, and I had one person in specific commenting some very anti-feminist things on my post, and I did respond to him, but that's like the only instance I've ever had.
Yeah, I don't bother commenting either. It's just like, I think it wastes my time, and it's almost like it's rage baiting myself in a way, and rage baiting other people, and overall I think it's a waste of time to have these conversations in comment sections. I think it's it's like, yeah, it makes me irritated. It's just like, I'm gonna scroll past this. I don't have time for this, and it's just gonna make me more mad about the issue.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm obviously very involved with feminism on campus. And even with just like Slut Walk itself, there's a lot of people that don't understand what it means. And it's really hard not to like just like yell at them and be like, it's like this, it's this. But I do try to like explain to them. But if it's just on social media in general, I also don't respond. It doesn't feel like they know what the real issue is. And it just seems like they're trying to get that kickback, especially on like Reddit. So 66.7% of people on campus also just scroll. They don't typically comment, but a couple people do. And then only like 1 or 2 people said that they will comment. The rest of people just scroll or whatever. But one person said they scroll and share it with a friend that relates. And then they can leave a comment because it's almost impossible to be constructive and efficient online for them. So I think that's an interesting point, is that they find that it's just really hard to get through to people. And then my next question for you guys is, have you ever interacted with the social movement on social media and then noticed that it was not spoken about once a newer movement came into light? So like an example of that could be like the Me Too movement. And then later on in like 2018, 2019, 2020, we started seeing like the Black Lives Matter movement, and we saw Me Too less. So have you guys noticed that yourselves, and how does it make you feel when you see a movement just get thrown to the side?
I can't think of anything in specific. I was gonna say probably the Black Lives Matter movement. I haven't heard anything about that in like a long time. But like as for feminism, I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens with a lot of things. Like, the Black Lives Matters movement has been like overshadowed by things, and then like it'll have like a surge because something happens again. And I think that applies to like feminist movements, like maybe like abortion or something like that. Like some instance, like a girl will be raped and it'll be like this big thing, but then something else will happen, like the war will happen, and then it'll be overshadowed. And I think just that cycle just happens over and over again with, I mean, any topic, including feminism.
Yeah, I think that's a great like point that you guys bring up, and I'm really glad you guys even acknowledge that it's hard for you to remember movements. And I like bet if I brought up some like in 2017 there was the Women's March, and right after Trump went into office, and that's when women were wearing like the uterus hats, if you remember. So movements like that, it's like it's quick to forget because social media is moving so rapidly. But I think it like really shows how social media is kind of working towards the detriment in a lot of ways of feminist movements, because we're so focused on the now and what's happening right away that we forget that these issues are still standing for so many women. And this is not like a social media movement. It is a real life experience. And then I have a question for you. Do you think that social media has hurt or helped the modern feminist movement? Right now, it's not like confirmed, but we're getting into the fourth wave of feminism, which is heavily reliant on social media. So are you noticing that more and more?
I would say I think so. I feel like with the amount of things, I feel like just the best way to put it is that everything nowadays is on social media. Like, I feel like that goes for almost anything. Like, getting news out, the best way to do that is on social media. So I would say yes, but also I could definitely see how it hurts the feminist movement with people being so open to sharing their like rude opinions. And what was I gonna say? And like being able to hide behind a screen, like not owning up to what you're actually saying. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think overall it definitely helps it, but it depends like what kind of side of media you're on, because you can you form your own like feed and your For You page and things like that. So like it can be helpful for like young girls who are like on like a good side of it, like social media, but it can also hurt for those who are seeing like the not so good side of it. But yeah, like Lauren said, like you hide behind a screen and it kind of like polarizes everything a little bit more, and it can be dangerous if you're like always arguing about these issues, and it just turns into like bad instead of the good that you can find in social media.
Yeah, I love those points because I do think in a lot of ways it's helping getting widespread coverage. And I think more than ever before, young women can get more involved, which kind of leads into my next quote and question. Jackson states that young women have historically been excluded outsiders to feminism. Their perspectives and concerns in feminist debates have been virtually absent. But social media is changing that. So you guys can both answer this, but this is kind of directed a little more towards Lauren. So you have a younger sister who's about to start her teenage years. Have you noticed her being involved in politics or feminism through social media yet? Do you think she will in the future?
She doesn't have access to social media yet. The closest thing she has is YouTube. But I definitely have seen her, like, she's starting to form her own opinions through things that she sees online, even just on, like, YouTube Kids Shorts. They have stuff like that as well. And just from, like, things that she hears around my mom and her fiance, she's been able to, like, form her own opinions without anybody, like, forcing it on her. And I have seen different sides of the argument, I guess, of feminism. I think she's kind of in, like, a rock and a hard place because she's not right at the age where she understands it, but she's getting there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's kind of hard because we're seeing this where we were like the previous generation and we were growing up in the big kick up of social media, so starting to get figured out. So we weren't really as like susceptible to this new era of news in social media where it's all fear mongering or trying to make people angry and rage baiting. And I think a lot of young women are seeing this more than ever now, where you're seeing different pushes for different things. Like we're seeing the big feminist movement, but we're also seeing a push for trad wives and more right ideologies. And I think it's really affecting young girls. So I think it's interesting that you've seen her like picking up both sides of the conversation. So that's all the questions I have for today. Do you guys have any closing things you want to say?
I don't think so.
I think I'm good.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you, Liz.